you added today. No, I was slow on approving it, so oh, there's one more. Okay. And okay, and then you. So why don't you jump onto your computer there and see what happens when you try to join. You could just log on under your username. So did anybody do anything with My Big Campus this week? Elementary teachers, anybody tried to add your kids into a group at all, or do you want to try it here? Heather's saying no.
No.
Okay, so let's just, why don't we start with, unless anybody has just any other general teaching with technology questions at all from this week? Any tech questions at all for me, or, yeah, Heather?
I do. Whenever I want to use my Bright Link.
Your Bright Link, okay.
I have to go over and make sure my pen is on. Is that right? Because last year whenever I used it, I could just put my pen on the board, it would work. But now I have to go over to my computer and make sure the pen is down here. Do you understand what I'm saying? No?
I do. Yep, this is what we talked about last week. So
yeah, but last year it was always there, and this year it seems like I have to say, go to the, I don't have to calibrate it.
But you have to turn it on a lot?
I have to turn it on every time I want to use it, yeah. But I didn't have to last year, so I just wondering.
Okay, and yours is staying on, Anna?
Yeah.
Is anybody else who has Bright Links, anybody else experiencing that problem where basically that driver isn't staying turned on your computer?
Yeah.
Right, Red X or...
I just started getting that right after our class, and I noticed it comes out right after I use my dock cam.
Oh.
I switch from my dock, turn my dock cam off.
We don't have dock.
Okay.
I just noticed that.
Which I'm fine with. I mean, I know how to turn it on, but
right.
I was just confused on
So there's really two things. One, Heather's not even getting the Red X, it's just the program's not turning on at all. So if she looks at her taskbar down here, the pen icon's not in there, so she has to come over and start it. So I would just put in a work order and have Dan come take a look and just see what's the difference in the settings on your computer versus Anna's, because there's got to be something unique in the settings.
Then last year it would work just like that.
Yeah.
This year it's not.
I wonder if it should be like in the automatic startup and it's not, or something like that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Okay. Anyone else? Yeah. Yes. On the projector?
So mine too. And so I didn't get up on my desk and flip black. So I got to do that.
No, you don't want to do that. So the sound is coming from the projector and not through your sound system, or where's it? The blue box or the projector?
Yeah. The light turns orange. And it turns orange and then it goes off. It was doing it time that stopped it. It started doing it again today. And we were in the middle of an activity. So I get up on my desk to like do the feedback on the finish activity. I don't have no time right there. So why did we do that?
So that blue box
Really frustrating.
is
It automatically
going off?
shuts off. And then you have to go over and it's like 8 minutes. It's not even. I did it 3 times. It's about.
That's a great question, Heather. So those blue boxes are they're kind of like the no man's land, because they're not really like in this building we're really got computers and that side of things, and then maintenance has their side, and like the blue boxes are in this no man's land between the two. That we keep having discussions about who's really responsible. But I'll at least make a note about that. I think we might have an electrician that's taking care of those. You can come check it out. And was that just today, Kendra, that it was doing it every 8 minutes, or have you seen that before? And is the sound just your voice through the microphone, or is it when you're running other sound through it? And is that what yours was?
It was doing it for a really long time, and then it quit. It's just not using the projector. We were watching.
And the movie sound is coming through your classroom speakers, right? That are part of the blue box, right? Because they're tied together. So I wonder if that's what it is. Right. So I wonder if it's going to sleep and it's not recognizing that there's an input. You know what I mean? Like when your voice is coming through, then it knows that there's something happening. But when you're running that line into it, if it doesn't realize there's sound coming in, so it's turning off. But that's something I think we could at least check out. So, okay. Anyone else? Yep, you betcha. Happy to do that. Yeah. Oh. I'll get Joe to update that. Okay, so let me just start as I'm doing this. I'll kind of do a quick refresher. So if you set up a group the way that I have, again, there's two ways that people could join the group. You can physically add them yourselves by typing their names into a search box, which is a pretty good solution if you're teaching K through 6. But if you're teaching in middle school or high school, not such a feasible solution because now you're dealing with 150 to 200 kids versus 25 to 35. So, if people request to join a group, when you log into My Big Campus, you'll see this notification window right here, and I have 3 notifications there. So when I click on that, I have 3 requests. Okay, and so I have 1 to join the group here, and then these requests to follow me. So I'm going to join her to the group. Okay, and now she'll have full access to the group. Okay, so for you, if you haven't set up a group yet, anybody remember how you would create your own group for your class? Excellent. You come down to add groups. So more groups are the groups that some other user in the district has already created. Add a group is if you want to create your own. So you'll click on add a group. So it's right from your very home page. It should be on pretty much every page, and you just scroll down here to the very bottom. Okay, and that should bring you to this page that says add a new group. You can put your title there. Probably most of you will just have your own school here. And Jennifer, you're probably, are you just seeing Discovery here in your drop down if you add a group? So you couldn't add Sand Creek students. Okay. Okay, you can put in a description for it if you want to, not really necessary, but again, if you're Dale and you're teaching high school, multiple high school classes, a description is probably not a bad thing to put in. Okay. You could put a photo there if you wanted, and again, I'd just be really careful about looking at that document that probably your school secretaries have saying what parents are permitting to be published on the internet and what they're not. And it's interesting because things like, as we move to more and more web-based applications, that document doesn't really mean the same thing as it used to. I think it has good application for our public web page, but this is really a private network. Only people inside of the district can see. It's a little different. How are you? A little different security than just publishing, a student picture out for anybody on the internet to see. That being said, you can make your group public, and so then you really are publishing out there for anyone on the internet. Okay, so once you've done your title for your group, designated a school if you can do that, then you can click on Save. and you will see the group pop up over here on your left under your groups now. Okay, and then if you want to add students to it yourself rather than having them join the group, you can click on the members icon right here. Okay, and you should be able to type in your students' names into the box. When you start typing, it will pop up with that information. So if I were to say add my daughter to our group, as I type Woolston Human, it searches for a minute, and then I can click on them. Okay, this does integrate with our student directory system, but it's not always 100% in sync, and I'm not sure why. So if you do have a student that they're not popping up in the list, then Joe Tamayo, you might want to make a note about his name, but Joe Tamayo is our internet security guy, so he's the one that's responsible for the filter, and the filter, again, My Big Campus is provided by the filter, so he kind of maintains this. And Cliff, you could add can you add students in from scratch too?
I believe so.
Okay, and I haven't introduced Cliff, so this is Cliff Waite, if Cliff wants to say hi to folks, but Cliff is new to our tech staff this year. I'm guessing most of you probably know Brenda Curtis, and Brenda's been our education specialist, which is really a certified teacher to help with software implementation with teachers here at the Tech Center. We brought Cliff on this year. Cliff's also a certified teacher. He's also been, well, is a current member of the Geek Squad at Best Buy, so he brings both worlds. He's a certified teacher in social studies, and what was your other? Government history, but he's a great geek as well, and so but he's got a secondary background, so he's kind of a counterpart with Brenda that he can really help with the high school integration of things as well. So anyway, so Cliff's here, and he's one of the things I've asked him to do is really kind of take charge of our online learning, so he's been learning a lot about My Big Campus, so you can email him, Cliff Waite, if you have a student that needs updated in fact, Cliff, if you've got a second, why don't you, do you mind switching Jennifer over from Discovery to Sand Creek? It's Jennifer Pickett. Then I don't have to email Joe. Okay, so you can type in your student's name, click on their name, and then that automatically adds them to your group. Okay, so if they request to join it, you'll get the request up here, or you can go ahead and add them in yourself. Okay. So now you have a group in My Big Campus, and again, really, especially at the elementary level and somewhat at the secondary, but this really could now become your home page as a teacher for your students. The nice thing about it is it's much easier to update than the old Novus pages were. So let's just take a quick minute since you're here and in front of a computer compared to last week and look at some of the things you can do. First of all, you have a home page, and ours is currently blank right here. But if I click up here on Edit, okay, that brings me a box here that lets me, it's fairly limited, but I can create a web page here for my for that home page when people click on that. So I can come in, I can make something bold, I can change some of the font things, I can center it and say, okay, you bet, I'll go back. Okay, so what I did is I'll let that say for a second. I just came up here to the very top and I clicked on Edit. And what Edit does is it edits the settings for my group. So the first thing, I can edit the name of my group if I want to. I can edit my description for it. And I can create a home page here for that group. Okay. So in addition to editing the home page, this is also where I can set the privacy settings. So again, don't have a clear-cut answer. It really depends on you and how you want to use your group on what settings do you want to put here. If I'm an elementary teacher, I might think I just want to keep this private, but if I do that, it's really limited to just my students. So it's great on the security side, but not necessarily so great on the accessibility side. I could say I can selectively choose which pages I want the public to be able to see versus which ones I want to keep private. So if I uncheck discussions, that means any discussions that my students have among themselves as part of my class, those won't be accessible to anybody on the internet. But announcements could be, so parents could get on and they could see the announcements for my class, they could see the calendar. So you've got quite a bit of control over what you have to log into My Big Campus to be able to see versus what anybody could find through a link if you put out a link to your web page. Does that make sense? Okay. Any thoughts on what you would make public versus keep private with the group settings?
If you want to keep it private, like I have 6 classes, and so I could say only group members can view this content, and then when I have to put the content in 3 different times for those 3 different classes, or
right. Yep. So you'd create 3 different home pages for them, and those, and etc. You can copy and paste quite a bit from group to group. So secondary, you really kind of have to think about what's the best way to do it. Dell, I'm assuming you set up some groups already. Have you done one for each period? Is that what you decided? How much are you finding you're duplicating things from one to the next? Whole pages over.
If I was going to set the folder with all my work into it, I wish there was a way to copy that folder in another class, but so there is some repetition in that.
I think there is.
Okay. But
Have you tried this clone?
it clones the entire group and not research. I did try it, but it seemed like it was just cloning the group itself. So, maybe there's an option.
like if you taught,
You can also make templates. Yeah. Sometimes that can help. Like that, if it's not you can make a template. It says that you can copy all the resources, and so it won't give specific resources.
Oh, I see.
And so,
Yeah. So you could, you could go in and you could set up, if you have the same, if you went in it before your group and you knew, okay, these are the events I want to publish, these are the assignments, and you did all that groundwork to start, then you could clone it right at the beginning, but if you're doing it one at a time, you're not going to be able to do that. So it's really either clone everything at the beginning or you have separate groups and you'll have to update each one of those separately. Your other option would be just to create one, say, English 10 class and have all of your classes that are English 10 be part of that. Have you thought about that?
I did, but I was thinking of maybe quizzes options. I ended up ever using the quizzes.
Right.
Trying to do an online quiz that way maybe more available. So I haven't tried it, but
Yeah.
I was thinking it might be more problems by
Right.
all together instead of
Right.
individual periods. So
Yeah. Yep. So
now,
pros and
would it work
cons.
though for assignments if you want to just put assignments on, and then everybody in 3 different classes?
If I remember right, you can assign assignments to multiple groups.
yes.
And so you could create one assignment and assign it to all 3 groups at the same time.
One thing I've noticed, depending on the group, like for instance, I just created a group on privacy. It only allows me to click only group members can view this content. It doesn't give me an option to then select like you have up there on the group board.
Really? Okay. Will you make a note about that, Cliff, and we can check that out? So Adrian says at the teacher level, they don't have the same access to control privacy settings that I have. And so I don't know if that's
I
it.
don't know if anyone else in here does. When on privacy, it just says only group members can view this content, but it doesn't allow me, like you were showing yesterday.
So it doesn't allow you
It
to,
doesn't-
you don't have this right here.
No, I don't.
And you have all those things enabled down
I
here.
have enabled pages, and page creation, but not privacy. At least for me.
But Pages doesn't show here,
No.
but it's enabled down here.
Yeah, everything's done.
Everything down here is enabled. Okay, so Cliff and I can check up on that and see if that's a function of, I mean, the only difference between you and me, I think, is I'm in as an administrator and you're in as a teacher, so we can check that out. Is that how yours is, Dale, as well?
Yeah, it doesn't allow me to check box
Okay.
and group members without anyone commenting if you view it. So.
And that might be something we can customize on our end of things, so we'll check into that and see. That's good to know.
I have a question.
Yes.
I have a student in one of my classes that whose parents said they didn't want any thing online for her. So in this one, it would automatically be online. It's just by, if she's a member of my class.
If you add her into that group.
And she's on.
If you add her to the group. Yeah.
So I would have to remember not to do that.
Yeah.
And is there a way to change the name of your group?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Here when you clicked on edit, there's the title right here at the top, and you can go in and you can change that title to whatever you want to change it to. Yeah, and so that's what I was saying is I think for now we definitely want to be really careful about those parent wishes. But at some point I think we also want to clearly explain to parents, here's my big campus, here's the security settings with it, and here's how I'm planning on using it in my class. And with them knowing that it's a secure website that only students who have only students can access through a login, they might be more comfortable with it. But the teacher said absolutely, or parents said absolutely not. I certainly wouldn't add them into the group. So the reality is that yeah, we've got some work to do on our side because really that student could still go into My Big Campus, log in, and post her own information on the internet without ever being a part of your group. And so we probably need to have a system in place at our side that we completely disable students if their parents want that. Just a way for us to know that that's what parents have requested. So right now schools know that, but we don't know that back here, and so we'll have to have that conversation going forward for sure. Okay. Any other questions about the group settings? We'll check in to see what we need to do so you have that control about what's public and what's not with the groups, and then we'll need to do some checking on the privacy too.
Talk to about the bottom of the page where it says enabled pages.
Okay.
Everything is checked.
Excellent. So down here, you can control for your group what functions you want available to students in this group in My Big Campus. So you can allow them. It's a slow connection all of a sudden.
So if I said that if I uncheck members, does that mean that they can't talk to each other? Uncheck chat or
Members, I think, is going to have. I'm trying to think what would happen if you'd even disable members.
The group just can't see
See each other's. Okay. Yes, they wouldn't be able to see the other members. You could also uncheck chat, and chat's again the video part. But thinking about that, I mean, school's one place, but if you leave that enabled, students could say go home and they could, if they had a video camera on their computer, they could actually video chat with each other through My Big Campus at home. So as part of your group. So I'm still kind of getting my head around chat and how that really is going to function well in an educational setting. Discussions are where you post a question for students, or students could post a question there, and then they can have a group response to that. And so I think there's a lot of benefit with that, but again, something you want to think about. I would definitely leave announcements checked. Really, you're probably the only one that can make announcements. And
pages.
so pages are web pages. And a lot of people have not found, I haven't heard of a lot of people finding a lot of use for pages yet. But you can come here and you could create just a page about a certain topic in your class. And so, you know, if I'm teaching a unit on Shakespeare, I could create a page about Shakespeare here that students could then click on and find links to outside internet resources and things like that. Yes?
I clicked on discussion to see what it was.
Mm-hmm.
There's a question on mine from a child that says, I'm in 7th grade, how come I am in this discuss the 2nd grade? So some I added an Emma Hansen as a member of my class. This is from an Emma Hansen.
Who's in 7th grade? Okay, so we got the wrong one. So if you click on members here, you're going to actually have to come up, I think, to, now I've got to think about how you do that again. No.
Just in members to delete.
Do you click on, you don't click on the, oh, it's under maintenance, sorry. Do you have the maintenance link up here? Okay. So up here under maintenance, mine didn't quite pop up like it should.
If you go to just members, you can delete them individually.
Can you?
Yeah. Just remove.
Oh, right there. Sorry, there's the link. Yep. So under members, you have a remove user. So if you do get the wrong person in there, or if somebody transfers from your class, you could remove them. Yes. Okay, that's a great question. So right here, there's two, did everybody see, first of all, how to remove members? I kind of clicked in a few places. So if you accidentally add somebody or somebody leaves your class, or if you have a new student come in, you can click on members, and you can, again, add members there, or you can click on the remove users here.
If you do unclick members as something you want your group not to see, you have to go and unclick that
in order to access that again. Okay. Okay. So we have, yes. Oh yeah. I think so. Okay, so the question was, if there's a website out there, and I want to really kind of show that website here, or do I have to link to it? And so under Pages is where you could build a hyperlink to that. But Resources is where you can pull things from various places and put out there for your students. And so you can post a picture from your computer if you want to post a picture. You can upload pretty much is really the key word, but pretty much any file that you want to into My Big Campus, and students could access that file. Now the thing to remember with that is we're still in this dilemma that if you post, say, a Word document or a PowerPoint document or something like that here, students will have to have PowerPoint or Office or Microsoft Word to be able to open that. Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind, that whatever file type you post here, they're going to have that same program to open it. Probably the number one problem we have anymore in the district is Publisher. People will send out Publisher files because Publisher creates really pretty documents, and instead of saving it as a PDF that we can all open, they send it out as Publisher, and if I'm on my iPad, I can't see it. If I'm at home on my computer, I can't see it because I don't have Publisher there. So just kind of think about that. So my rule of thumb is if you're going to do this, if possible, to save it as a PDF file, and then you've got a free program that's mostly installed on every computer. You can open it on iPads, iPods, phones, and students can still see that. Okay. Now we do have one other resource that's not My Big Campus that every student has access to, which is Skydrive. And so if you really do have like an Excel worksheet that you want them to work in Excel, or a PowerPoint, you really want them to see it as a PowerPoint, that they could access it through Skydrive. And we'll talk about that a little bit too. So in those situations, because now it's a cloud-based file, basically they can open it through the internet, where before they didn't have that opportunity. Okay, so let's come back to resources. You can post pictures, files, quick links, which would be, if you have a a resource like Skydrive, for example, that you want students to go back to a lot, you can save that as a quick link, and then you can add it to here very frequently. Okay. And then you have library items. And so kind of hold on to that thought, and I'll come back to that in a second. You have your stuff, which is looking at all the files that you have in your collection. And you can sort it by everything. You can sort it by collections, by photos, okay? And then
this is stuff that you uploaded. It isn't just because you're...
Yeah, this is stuff that I, at one time or another, I've uploaded to My Big Campus, okay? So let's take a look at the library. And then the My Big Campus docs, I would just say, just ignore that, because Skydrive is a much, much, much better option than My Big Campus docs. We'll just kind of ignore that one. So what we have up here in the top right corner is we have a library, okay? And that's really probably the best way to think about it, is just, it's a library. It's a collection of different resources. One of the obvious things you'll see is probably the most popular items in the library are YouTube videos. And so this is a way that we can safely show YouTube videos to our classes. Okay, and I'll come back and I'll talk about that. But in addition to that, notice here you also have add a website option. So the two things you can put into the library are YouTube videos or websites. So that's a way you could actually have students see that website right in My Big Campus. Okay? So let's tackle, wonder what the chance is that Joe's here. Is everybody logged in under yourself?
So we can just click on any of these YouTube videos.
Yeah. Give me 2 seconds just to see if I can get hold of Joe real quick. That will make our experience tonight much better. Joe's not. Okay, so let's just start with this. My Big Campus, again, is provided by Lightspeed, and Lightspeed is one of the main filters that schools across the country have used. And so as Lightspeed recognized the need to, first of all, create a social network, and second of all, to be able to stream YouTube videos in a safe manner, they built that capability in through My Big Campus. So teachers and students all over the country have added videos from YouTube into My Big Campus, and they're right there, and you can access them right now. And so, for example, let's just somebody throw out a topic that you taught today. Habitats. Okay, so I can do a search for habitats here in the library, and here are videos that are already added to My Big Campus, over 5 pages of them. With habitats. So I can click on animal habitats, click on play, okay, and I have a YouTube video that I can stream right there to my classroom. Okay, not sure I'm not getting sound out of it, but okay, so that's the first thing I would tell you is there are literally thousands and thousands of videos that users have already added from YouTube into My Big Campus, and so I would start with that. Lots of people find YouTube videos first, and we do have a way you can add those into My Big Campus, but I think it's going to be it's a much simpler process if you just go and see what videos are already there. Okay, so if I want to use this video and I say, okay, I found this video, I don't want to search for it every time. I can keep it in a collection that I've created here. So now I'm taking this vast library. I found the video I want to check out from that library or that I want to keep, and I'm going to save it in the collection so that I always have access to it. Okay, so these are different collections I've created during classes. I'll just create one down here called habitats. Okay. Now one tricky thing is when I click on add here, I'm not adding the video to habitats. I just added a collection called habitats. So now I need to come back find my habitats collection and click on it. Okay. And now, if I come up here under my stuff and I go to collections and I go to habitats, I have my video right there that I can pull up again. Okay. So I don't have to do that. I can continue to just search for that video here in the search box if I want to. But if I put it into my stuff, then I have that I can share with my students, and it's easier to access.
The videos that we asked to be put on, I had one put on, but then when I went to find it, it came up after school, but not during school.
In my big campus?
Joe put it on for me, and it's called St. Crispin's Day Speech. It was a Shakespearean, just a short
Right,
speech.
right.
And I could never get it up.
So what happened when you pulled it up?
It kept going like this.
Just spinning like that?
Yeah, it's fun all afternoon.
Okay, so, okay.
See, this is after school, and it'll work now.
Okay.
But it wouldn't during the school day. I couldn't get it up now.
That's interesting.
Yeah, is there a way that you could, or is there some, how you can find out?
Yeah, I mean, we could check. What I would recommend is if you run into that problem, I would go and just give either Cliff or Joe a call and let them know. I mean, just right then as you're trying to show it and see, or shoot them an email and let them know, because I can't think of what would keep that from loading.
I actually sent one to Joe because he was mortified.
Oh.
But I never heard back. He just, I'm sure he thought I did it for her. She's just long, you know. And
Okay.
so, but
Okay, so, okay, I can, yeah, good. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple of options here, and then I'm going to run through a quick internet safety training with you. We have put in a mechanism so that teachers can now override the filter, and I'm going to run you kind of through some internet safety training so you can understand why we did that, but also some things to really be considerate of when you do that. But just for a minute here, I'm going to override the filter and go to YouTube, just so I can show you the difference between showing a video in My Big Campus and showing it on YouTube. So I'm going to pull up that same, well, let's just start with this. So I log into YouTube, okay, and here, I mean, it's not that inappropriate, but there's a girl in a bikini/bra that I may not want my 7th grade boys to necessarily get distracted by. Okay. There are just a lot of things there. So when I log in, I really don't know necessarily what I'm going to see here. But I'm going to go ahead and pull up the St. Crispin's Day speech. Okay. And we'll pull this one up. Okay. So this one's not too bad. But notice when I show this in YouTube, over here there are a collection of related videos, okay? And then down here are comments about the video. So depending on what video you're showing, and this one again not too shabby, but because these are comments, you will see F-bombs in the comments. They're not edited necessarily. YouTube really does a pretty good job of keeping their videos pretty clean. I mean, there's still definitely things in there I wouldn't necessarily want kids to see. But for the most part, they don't have pornography in there. But the kids, a lot of time, will put down and say, this sucks, or, you know, drop F-bombs down here in the comments. And a lot of times, you just don't know what's going to pop up over here in the related videos. And you will see, and so looking at how that appears in YouTube versus My Big Campus. Okay, so can you see what they did in My Big Campus? Excellent. So they basically pull the video out and they frame it inside of My Big Campus, and they don't pull in the related videos or the comments underneath. Okay? So a key thing here to remember is they don't do anything with the content of the video. So a teacher or a student, okay, kind of keep this in mind, or a student can find a video in YouTube and add it into My Big Campus. Okay? So keeping in mind that our kids today, and that any one of them can take a video with this and upload it to YouTube, can an inappropriate video get loaded into My Big Campus? Absolutely. Okay, so it's something to be aware of. Just because a video is here doesn't necessarily mean that it's inappropriate. But what we have that, is we can report a video. So if you do see something as a teacher, or you see kids huddled around a computer and they're watching, when I was again at Hillcrest, one of the new trends that's coming in just as I was leaving Hillcrest was kids are getting fights and they video it. And so I could easily see kids taking a fight of a video, throwing it up to YouTube and say, hey, let's put that on My Big Campus so everybody can see it. And so we could pretty easily have a situation. But that can get reported by a teacher saying, I saw students watching something inappropriate, and immediately Joe, Cliff, or myself can take that off of My Big Campus. So we have a lot more control of it than we have with YouTube. So two key differences. We don't have the possibility of inappropriate comments down here or inappropriate videos related to it on the side, and we also have the ability to take videos down. But inappropriate videos could still get loaded. Okay? So
now, is that if you allow them to do it, or is that something that you have no control of?
I think every student can add, I think any user can add a YouTube video to My Big Campus. Okay? Okay. Now, they really can't, they could share it with their friends and they can share it on their homepage. They can't really share it as part of your group. And so as a teacher, you're not really at risk, but students could have something loaded on their own page that's not appropriate, if that makes sense. And depending, if you post a discussion, they could actually link to a discussion page and link a video. One benefit of taking the class, besides learning all the other stuff, is I'll run you through the internet safety training, and you'll now have the ability, hopefully tomorrow, but within the next couple of days, that you can override the filter as well. Okay, so there's a good reason to override the filter, and that is there are times that teachers need access to content, both you and for your students. So, so we're going to go here to a quick presentation. Yeah.
Is it possible when you override that? Once you override, are you overridden forever? Are you override to get this one thing and then you can close it?
So right. So it gives you a 60-minute window is actually where we have it set. So when you override it, you're overriding that for an hour, and then it goes off, and then you can override it again for another 60 minutes. Okay. Okay. So Dale's already seen this, so sorry, Dale, for the repeat. But so internet safety for teachers, and the question is, why do we even have a filter in place on our internet connection here in the district? Why can we not just open up the internet and say, you know what, students and teachers can watch their own content? And there's some pretty good reasons why we need to provide a filter as a district. The first one is just, to me, an ethical responsibility that we have to protect our students. So just like we protect our students, we have that responsibility to protect our students' safety on the playground, in the hallways, in the lunchroom, and in our classrooms. When it comes to online safety, when they're in school and they're our responsibility, we have that responsibility to protect them from, in as much as possible, the dangers from the internet. So from the State Attorney General's office, they've identified 3 main categories of risks for our youth on the internet. First one, sexual victimization. An unfortunate reality of the world that we live in, and the internet has just opened up a new way for sexual predators to make contact with students. And I think, let me see, I think I have a, yep, okay. So really the benefit for sexual predators with using the internet is it gives them this safety net. And truthfully, it's a safety net I used when I was dating. So I didn't get married till my late 20s. So like from the like 23 years on, the internet really kind of came in, and so I now had a way that I could safely flirt with girls through email. Mostly, I didn't really do chat rooms or anything like that. But to establish that relationship of trust with them, well, that was fine because I was doing with age-appropriate girls, but sexual predators will do the same thing with teenagers. So either by assuming an identity that's not theirs, or sometimes they're just themselves as a, this trusting older adult that has a caring interest in the student, that they can build that relationship of trust online and gradually try to manipulate that student or that youth into meeting them offline for a sexual encounter. And it's an unfortunate reality. It's hit our school district several times. The principal out in Snake River that was just in court over that. I mean, it's nobody in eastern Idaho is immune from, nowhere in eastern Idaho is immune from this risk. And so it's something we definitely want to protect our students from as much as possible. And I think a key thing to be aware of is we really need to understand, I feel, the reality of our situation when it comes to protecting our students. And the reality is stranger danger is not that big of a risk. For the most part, students don't go out and have sexual encounters with people that they don't know. So mostly they're at risk from people they do know. So again, that trusted teacher, that trusted principal, trusted church person in their church, those are the types of people that generally, that for the most part, students are at risk from. Now, that being said, there is still the minority of people that it is strangers that are trying to initiate these encounters. But more often than not, it's somebody that they already know and trust that's building on that relationship and using the internet, and then gradually, again, putting that student in an unfortunate situation. So just some key things. They may use email, chat rooms, social networking sites, again, things like Facebook, text messages, and sometimes even video games to establish those relationships. So if you think about the reality of video games, and I never got into these myself, but I had a good friend that got into the multiplayer role games, so things like World of Warcraft or StarCraft, if you've heard of those. So they're in this massive online community with literally hundreds, if not thousands, of other people, developing friendships and relationships with people online. And again, if it's an older person, they could easily take that relationship and move it into a more intimate conversation and those kinds of things, and gradually put the student at risk. So just an unfortunate reality of the world we live in. So that's why, in some situations, why gaming sites need to be blocked by the district. It's just to try to limit that risk of our students. Okay, the next risk is pornography. And again, another unfortunate reality of the world we live in. And my personal view is that pornography is an addiction, and in a church capacity, I work a lot with men that have been addicted and are addicted to pornography, and it almost always started when they were preteens or early teens. And so I feel like we have that same responsibility. We need to really protect our students from that and try to limit their exposure to it, and especially limit their risk of being accidentally exposed to it at school. That being said, pornography as an industry, the pornography industry makes more, has more revenue than the 4 major sports leagues combined. So if you think about all the revenue from the NFL, the NBA, hockey, and baseball, you combine all that revenue, and pornography has more revenue than that. And so just like the tobacco industry, the younger they can capture students, get them addicted to their product, the more revenue they will generate from that down the road. And so they'll use all kinds of tactics to try to involve students in pornography. Some are things like those mass emails that we still get, advertising, this is Slovenia from Russia, and I can't wait to meet you. And a lot of it does come from those Eastern Bloc countries, and where organized crime is a huge factor, and from China. Those countries there, Eastern Bloc and China, account for tons of well, and I'll get into this, but our cyber threats, pornography, all those kinds of things that really come back to cyber crime. They'll also may try to create websites that are very deliberately masked to appear like another one. So probably the best example I have of this is when I was teaching 10 years ago, there was a whitehouse.com site. Don't know if anybody remembers that, but it was a pornographic website. So whitehouse.gov was the official White House page. Whitehouse.com would take you to pornographic sites. So students could very easily, on a research project, end up at the wrong site. So that's a reality of the tactics that they use, and another reason why we have to be very vigilant with the filter we put into place. Okay. Then the third one, and this one just continues to garner more and more headlines with more and more tragic situations, but cyberbullying continues just to be an escalating problem in our schools and in our communities. Again, from the Attorney General, they were reporting that almost half of students, U.S. teens, have been victims of cyberbullying, and they define that as using, text messages, Facebook, online sites to post messages or images that are intended to hurt, humiliate, or embarrass them. Okay, and there are some very unfortunate effects. The worst of which, of course, we've seen with teenage suicide when the cyberbullying has gone on and on and on. So, so again, as we look at My Big Campus, I think it's a great tool because we can provide that opportunity for students to interact with each other through a social network, but we also have the ability to monitor that, watch what the students are saying, and respond appropriately. With Facebook and MySpace and those things, we really can't respond as quickly or as effectively to those things because we don't have control of the site. Any questions on those ethical responsibilities for protecting our students or comments? Anybody have any situations or examples of any of those things that you want to share? I know Cloverdale just went through a big thing with Facebook and some harassment there. So again, we can't control those things. And we'd like to say, it happened on Facebook, it happened at home, it's not our responsibility, but almost inevitably when you're dealing with kids, those things spill over into our classrooms and into the school, and they absolutely have an effect there too. So that then does become our responsibility to respond to.
With My Big Campus, we have the opportunity to report abuse. How much, as we as teachers, where do we need to go in order to, do we need to be so concerned about going into each student's profile? Is that monitored by the district?
I wouldn't say it's monitored because there's too much traffic for us to monitor. What happens is, and this is something we need to do a better job of teaching our students, and I think we'll get it done next year, that we'll really start teaching students how to use this appropriately. But we're really counting on students that if they're getting harassed, they're clicking the button and reporting that, and then we can go in and see what's happened.
So as teachers, you want to take that liability if it's on the student's page?
No, if you see it, then I think you have that responsibility to report it just like you would with a normal bullying thing. But if you don't see it, you don't know what's happening, you don't have a responsibility to go in and monitor their traffic.
I know that we've had, I've set up my classes, and then I've had students that have gone over and just chatted,
right, teasing
other people, or maybe saying some things that might be questionable, or
right,
exclamation mark, things like that. But
good.
Do I need to be responsible to go into each one of those and see that? If I don't click on their profile, I would never know that exists.
If you didn't click on what?
On their profile.
On their
because
profile.
It's just conversation between the two students rather than discussion.
Right. And so, again, to me, my viewpoint of technology is it's no different than anything else we've had before. And so I always compare it back to when I was in school, we wrote notes. And so, as we talk about kids texting each other back and forth, my kids texting isn't a whole lot different than the note writing I used to do all through my classes. And to me, it's going to be the same thing with harassing and bullying. I don't think you necessarily go through and open up a kid's notebook and go through a notebook to see. And so I would respect their privacy, but if you see something or if a student comes up and says something, I would monitor it. And then if you feel like it's serious enough, go ahead and report it, because what that does is that allows us to shut the student down from My Big Campus as a consequence or whatever we need to do. So, okay. Okay, so the second one is legal requirements, and I can go through some pretty quickly. But basically, there is a federal law called the Children's Internet Protection Act, and that law says that any schools that receive federal funds need to have a policy that does the following things, and it really goes right back to what we already have, I think, an ethical responsibility to do. So it talks about blocking access to obscene materials, monitoring the online activities of minors, and that we address access to inappropriate materials, safety and security, those kinds of things. Okay. As a reward for that, then there's a federal law that gives us reimbursement for our connection to the internet at about 70%. So right now, our not just the connection to the internet, but the network that connects all of our schools together costs us about $120,000 a year to tie all of our schools together, to have school computers coming back and talking here to the tech center to get things like, you know, Renaissance out, My Day Campus out. I mean, all these things are a fundamental part of our school day. $120,000 just to get that traffic back and forth between computers. Because of E-rate, we get $70,000 of that back about a year, and so we're only paying somewhere between $35,000 to $45,000 a year. So it's a significant cost savings to us for providing that filter as the law requires. And incidentally, where that funding comes from, if you ever want to know, if you ever see the federal excise tax on your phone bills or on your cell phone bills, that's what funds that. So it's not an income tax thing. It comes from our cell phone taxes. And when you sign up for that, you know, $39.99 plan a month, and you end up paying $50 a month, then part of that's funding our internet connection here at school. So, okay, the last reason is our network security. We've experienced some pretty significant downtimes with our network this year. We've had some pretty significant challenges to it, and so we're caught in this balance of trying to provide all the network support that we need to for educational functions, but that a lot of times comes at the expense of we need to really control the non-educational activities so that they're not adversely affecting our educational ones. So right now we run about 5,000 computers in the district on the network, and in addition to that we have somewhere around 1,000 other devices that are connected to the wireless network. But all that is running through the same freeway system basically between the schools and here to the tech center and to Cable One, which is what provides our internet, at least part of our internet. So just as an example, a typical YouTube video streams at about 5 megabytes. And so if you were to stream, if every device on the network were streaming a YouTube video at the same time, it would take up 3 gigs of bandwidth. And so what we have right now, I don't have a picture of this, so I'll draw for a second. I don't want to bore you too much, but it might be interesting to you. Cable One is, for that $100,000 a year, they lease out to us all these connections to our different schools. Okay, so we have all these schools, and each one of those schools has a 1 gigabyte connection back to Cable One, which is quite a bit of room. Okay, one of the challenges we've had though is from Cable One back here to the district office is also 1 gig connection. So that's a lot like trying to get on the freeway in Salt Lake if you've ever experienced that at rush hour. So you have all these schools, and when everybody boots up and starts doing their star assessments at the same time, it takes about that same 5 megabytes of bandwidth. And if everybody does that at the exact same time, we're generally fine from your school to here, but boom, when we all hit that one, then it plugs this line back to the district office, and that's been part of our slowdown with the network. So to help compensate for that, don't know if you care, but we're making this a 10 gig pipe now, and that should adequately handle all of the traffic between us and Cable One. So that doesn't come into place until July 1st, but that'll be one of 2 things we're going to do to really speed up our network. The second one, you don't want to bore you, but right here, this isn't really just a straight pipe. What you have is you have a switch that's really like a computer on each end of that that controls the traffic coming into it. And if anybody's driven in Salt Lake lately, you know how you have the lights that tell you when you can get onto the freeway and when you can't to try to control that traffic. So they've done that to really control the flow here. Well, right now we're running these and they're about 8 to 10 years old. So if you think about your computer that's 8 to 10 years old and how well it functions right now, anybody have an 8 to 10-year-old computer at your house? Yeah, it doesn't really work too well. That's the one I let my kids play on. They go down and they do Barbie dress-up games on it. I still have to go down and reboot it like every half hour. So that's the system we have right here. So we're going to, at a cost of about $80,000, we're going to go in and we're going to upgrade those to our new computers, basically. So by doing those 2 things, by speeding up our connection from the school to Cable One through that switch and increasing our pipe here, we're, fingers crossed, hopefully going to have a much more efficient and faster network next year than we've had for years. So anyway, but to protect all of that, there's some things we need to do. So one, we need to really control how much data is streamed through the internet at any time. And so that's why like 5 years ago, ESPN was wide open, and so came Final Four time, March Madness. We had a number of teachers that were streaming those games all day long through their computers, and it had a significant impact on our network. Pandora is a good example. As much as I like Pandora, if every teacher were streaming Pandora, it would absolutely crash the network. So we really have to watch how much streaming are we letting happen on the network to try to keep it as open as possible for our educational apps. And then the second one is I'm really watching the threats to our network. And that's what we've been experiencing for about the last 4 days, is we have hackers from somewhere. Hey, Rick. Got 2 seconds? So this is Rick. I don't know if you guys know Rick or not, but that's been Rick's life for the last 4 days, is the firewall. How long has it been?
Since last Wednesday.
A week now. So for a week now. And do we have any idea where those threats are coming from? Or?
It was a distributed attack, so it was literally tens of thousands of different IP addresses all over the world that were back.
So someone somewhere is trying to hack the network.
Well, what happened is a bunch of computers got infected with the virus.
Oh,
so
okay.
They got some of the botnet, and then they were turned
Okay. And why us?
I don't know.
Yeah.
No idea. Other than we try to hide in anonymity, we're just a St. Green sand on the beach.
Yeah.
Occasionally they find us.
Yeah.
It's still happening today, just on some other ports.
Excellent.
We're actually taking care of that right now.
Thanks, Rick. So Rick has been working very hard to try to get that stopped. But if we've had a significant internet slowdown this last week, it's because of that. So these threats that are ongoing. Yep.
Firewall, firewall just stopped responding several times.
Excellent. Thanks, Rick.
Any more?
Have a good night, man. So that, again, that's just the reality of the world we live in, that people, for whatever different reasons they have, sometimes it's organized crime trying to get in and hack computers so that they can use those, again, to do those kinds of things, so they can steal identities, credit card information, passwords off of computers. Sometimes it's just, I don't want to offend anybody, but I had a really good friend who was much more intelligent than I was, to the point where he was socially inept. I love the guy, good friend of mine. But sometimes those guys get into World of Warcraft mode and these kinds of things, and it becomes a reality, and all of a sudden they perpetrate, these things just to see if they can do it. And so there's all kinds of psyches on why these things happen, but it's the reality of the world we live in. So viruses, if we open up the network and let teachers go anywhere they wanted, there's sites out there that are specifically there designed to lure people in, again, to turn around and put something on your computer that's either a virus to crash your computer, to steal information off the computer. But anymore, it's not just that single computer like it used to be. It's now, let's spread that through the whole network and crash an entire system. I don't know if anybody's heard of VeriSign, but VeriSign, if you haven't seen that, if you ever make any online purchases, VeriSign is this company that their whole thing is built on keeping sites safe, and companies pay a lot of money to them every year to say, you're saying that we're running our transactions through you, so we're guaranteeing that everything's safe, and they got hacked. And so, again, it's just kind of this challenge out there for people to say, well, can we hack these top-notch companies and show that we're smarter than they are? Yeah. Well, I think there's a couple of things, because I really haven't, well, we've still got viruses. You just got to be really careful about where you click, and you're going to hit some accidentally. And my wife was looking for some things for a church activity, went to some site, I don't know if that site got infected, but all of a sudden she completely crashed our computer because it had picked up some virus from somewhere. So one of the best things you can do is just keep antivirus on your computer. And Microsoft now offers a free one called Security Essentials. So you could just, so if you have that and you keep it active and running, that should help, but I'm sure I had that running and it still crashed our computer. So the other thing, another keyword you'll want to find is malware. And I won't bother getting into the difference between viruses and malware, but these are two different, this is for viruses, and there's a different thing for malware. And I can't remember which one I have on my computer, but you'll want to install a malware protection on yours. With Bytes, isn't it B-Y-T-E-S? Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So that's a free program as well. And if you keep those two things on your computer, then you should be fairly safe. And that's just reality. It's just like driving. You can take reasonable precautions, but if you drive, there's still a chance that something's going to happen. But I think those are two really pretty good precautions to take. And this is my opinion, so don't take this as an official one. But personally, Cliff, you can give me your opinion after being in the Geek Squad. But I would never put Norton Security on any computer I owned, or what's the other big one? Norton and Mac. And in my experience, just my personal experience, those things are as bad as the virus. They slow my computer down. They clog email going in and out. They're an absolute headache. These two things run really pretty low-key in the background. They don't slow down my computer's performance, but they tend to keep it pretty safe.
Yeah. Is there a difference with like Firefox and the Windows that is safer than just Internet Explorer?
I don't think so. It used to be, I don't even know if that's true. The tech guys here used to tell me, this is 5 years ago, that Firefox is full of bugs and malware. I haven't personally experienced that myself at all. Do you have an opinion on that, Cliff? I think all the browsers are about the same.
It used to be Firefox was a safer option because it didn't run a lot of the add-ons.
Right.
Still runs like your Flash player and some of those things, but as the management of stuff has gone, Firefox has had to allow their browser to use that. So that creates more security holes, so it's about as bad probably now. Now they're saying with Windows 8, the newer Internet Explorer, it's going to be with the HTML, so they're going to get rid of a lot of those add-ons and things. And I think their goal with that is to try and increase the amount of security loopholes that other add-ons like Flash Player and Java and things.
Right.
Add to the equation.
So in a nutshell, what happens is when you open up Internet Explorer and you open up a PDF file or a Flash file, it's actually opening another program inside of Internet Explorer. So when you give it that opportunity to open another program, that's also potentially opening up a window where another program like malware or a virus could exploit that. So by moving to what's called HTML5, which is what iPads, that's what Apple was saying 2 years ago, is we're going to HTML5, we're not going to deal with any of this stuff because we don't want the risk of it. So by moving to that, it closes all those things and everything basically runs off of just the simple code rather than having to open up a bunch of separate programs to do it. So Mac guys will tell you a Mac computer is not susceptible to viruses, but I just got an email that said there's a virus out there with Macs as well, so even that's not as safe. There's really no safe bets to this. So the best you can do is protect yourself as well as possible, and I think those are two essential things I would keep on my home computer and make sure that they're running and scanning. I think probably for most users, a monthly scan is okay. I think as a default, I would definitely go, the month is the least I would do. A weekly scan isn't a bad idea at all. So just as one quick example, we had a teacher that we added to the override category, and that teacher chose to play games, internet-based games, by overriding the filter. And pretty soon we started getting these viruses propagating at that particular school and traced it back to her computer, and it was all because she was overriding the filter. So the principal got to have a conversation with her about, when we said you could override the filter, it wasn't to play games, it was for educational purposes, and had a little talk with her, and we turned off her ability to override the filter for a time. So just kind of keep that in mind. The filter is there for multiple very good reasons, and so as educational professionals, we now have an option to allow you to override the filter, but it really has to be for legitimate purposes and in a safe manner, okay? Which brings me back to YouTube. So, yeah, jump in, please. No.
If your computer's not on, can it still be attacked?
No.
Okay, so a good thing to do would be to turn your computer off. But not turn it on.
If you have all your programs shut down, it really can't be attacked either. So really the time your computer is susceptible is when it's connected to the internet, either through email or having the internet open. Once you have those things closed down, it's not even true, because if you have your if you have your wireless turned on and you don't have appropriate security on your wireless, somebody could, from the street, hack into your computer as well. So you're right. I mean, the safest thing is if it's completely shut down, they can't touch it. And I won't even get into Wi-Fi security. That is something to kind of think about. If you've got your Wi-Fi open, people could hack your computer and hack your network from the street. I don't know that we have a lot of that going on in Idaho Falls, but it's a potential. So just something to keep in mind, too. Okay, so anybody else have a topic you've taught lately? Anything you want to find in YouTube quick? As an example.
Yeah, the gorilla.
Gorillas?
The invisible gorilla.
Is that with G-O-R-I, that kind of gorilla? Not like the warrior, not like the... Okay. Excellent. Perfect. Okay. So I did Invisible Gorilla. These are the sites that are coming up. But right here I've got Lady Gaga showing a fair amount of leg. Okay. I mean, nothing, again, nothing that's pornographic, but still questionable. Is that something I want to pull up in front of my students? Okay. And then if I click on one, are any of those the one you're looking for?
Yeah, you have to go down a little bit. There's a gorilla in the picture. Keep going.
This one? No.
There he is, reading the newspaper.
This one?
I don't think that's the exact one, but it's good enough.
Okay. No comments under that one, so that's good, and nothing really to... Okay. And so if I really want to show a YouTube video to my class, and I override the filter to do that, and I've got my projector on, okay, I have just violated teacher code of ethics by exposing my students to something inappropriate. I've really just violated a federal Children's Internet Protection Act, and I'm completely at risk as a teacher. And so kind of keep that in mind. We want to allow you to override the filter, but you have to be very cautious about how you override it. And what I would, though, the thing to do is after the students have gone home for the day, if you can't find a video here in My Big Campus that you want to use, but you know it's in YouTube, then override the filter after the kids have gone home and add it to My Big Campus, which is a pretty simple process. Okay, so I'm not really seeing that invisible gorilla here. So if that's the video I want to add, okay, so back here in My Big Campus, I can click on the library. I can click Add a New YouTube Video. Okay, and then it just says, tell me the address of the video. So I can come back to YouTube, and I can just click up here. Okay, right-click on it and copy that address. Come back to My Big Campus, paste it, and click on Get Info. Okay, and it's going to take the information from YouTube to try to populate that information. Okay, so here it brings in all that. So all I need to do is put in a category for it. So what, and this is really just to help people find this later. And I can put in a minimum and a maximum grade level for it and click Add. And so really in about all of 20 seconds, I can now show that same video in My Big Campus in a safe way where I'm not risking exposing my students to something accidentally that would be inappropriate.
Oh, so it doesn't have to go through.
Nope, doesn't have to go through tech guys anymore. As a teacher, once you can override the filter, you can completely do this by yourself. Or you can go home and you can do it on your home network. You can do the same thing, log into My Big Campus, go to YouTube, and you can add the videos from home as well. So it used to be that you'd have to talk to Joe, and Joe would add it into a library, and then we could show them that way. But you've really got complete control now to add in the ones that you want. So what you probably don't have is the ability to override the filter because, again, we want our teachers to be educated about the purposes for it, the risks inherent in it, and then add them to it. So now that we've gone through that training, I'll have Joe add you guys to the override group in the next day or two. So hopefully by next week you'll be able to go in and override the filter.
You know, this doesn't work though if you're looking for educational worksheets and you go and click on it and it says access denied.
Yeah, well, so here's...
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, so here's the key, is the way the override works is it doesn't override everything, okay? Because we have a category called pornography, and I don't really think we want teachers to be able to override the filter and access a pornography category. So what it overrides is the social networking, and I can't remember what other categories, but social networking lets you into My Big Campus, it lets you into Facebook, lets you into a couple of places. Educational purposes only. Remember, just so what it does not override is the general category. So probably a lot of you have started to have sites blocked that are the general category. Anybody experienced that in the last month that they didn't used to be blocked? Okay. So what happened, going back to our internet security, is the general categories like the catch-all. So it's pretty easy to identify sites that are social networking sites, that are gambling sites, that are gaming sites. But then you have these literally billions of web pages that we really can't categorize, or the lights we can't categorize, that get dumped into the general category. Well, what was happening is that's where all of our fake antivirus messages were coming from. Anybody getting one of those saying your computer's at risk of a virus, click here to install protection. And what that did is it installed a virus. It was a fake virus message. And so we did have teachers click that, make a problem, and then create a problem by installing the virus. And really the only way we could block that was by blocking the general category. So Joe blocks it, and we had our tech committee meeting, and I mean, I was getting blocked myself. I'm like, Joe, what on earth are you doing? You're killing us here. And so he explains the reason. And so on that one, you still can't access the general category through an override, I don't think. But if you have a site that's getting blocked, please just forward that to Joe for review, and he's then putting those into the local allowed categories so we can put those legitimate sites in. So basically it's blocking the things we don't know, but if we know a teacher is using this site and it's a legitimate site, we can add it and remove it from the general and put it into a category where we allow it. Okay? So just because you can override doesn't mean you can get to every single page on the internet. It's still pretty limited on what you can get to, but you still have an option to submit sites to Joe for him to allow.
That seems like an hour, for what I would want to add would be an awfully long time to leave myself exposed to that kind of risk, whereas I could do it in just seconds. And so can we just let him do that? Can we find a video that we want?
Let him add it? Possibly. But we've got 500 teachers and one Joe, and he's got to keep a lot of things running. So you could shoot him an email. Probably the safest thing would be if you just did it after school, you override it, add it after school, and then it'll be there for you the next day with your classes. You don't have to worry about overriding it during the school day. But that being said, Joe's a nice guy, and if you ask him to add something for you, I'm sure he can. So, yeah, Dale?
We can probably also use Keepvid if we'd like to.
Absolutely. Yep.
On the system. I really like Keepvid.
Yep. Yep. So there, and we'll do that as well. We may save that for next week. But there's a website called Keepvid.com. Keepvid, yeah, vid short for video. Keepvid.com, and it works kind of similar to My Big Campus, where I'll just show it to you. I can sit up here and talk about it, or I can use my technology and show it to you. So let's show it to you. So I'm going to keep my YouTube video here. I'll go to Keepvid here. Okay, so this is the website, keepvid.com. And what it does is I can take a YouTube video, do that same thing that I did with My Big Campus. I can copy the address for it. I can come here, and you have to be a little bit tricky because they kind of have some things they want you to download or install that you can just ignore. So all you have to do is come here into this bar and paste that address and click on download. Okay, and so it's going to take a minute here. Looks like I need Java. This is the one thing I don't like about it is you have to know which software you're installing. So yeah, I don't know that you should. So What you could do is, if you get to that point, you could just ask for the tech to come in and update Java on your computer. Java should be running on your computers. I was kind of surprised it's not on this one. So, yeah, this is one of those do as I say, not as I do things, and let your tech install that. So, I hope I did that right. Did I not get that all the way installed?
Yeah, hit cancel.
Did I hit cancel partway through it? Oh, here, I can go to my... Is it under tools? There it is. Oh, I just downloaded the installer. So while that's doing that, what Keepvid does is it takes that YouTube video and it downloads it. Now you can save it as a movie file. So instead of streaming the video into your classroom, you actually have it saved and it's playing. So streaming means that video is saved on somebody's computer out on the internet, and it's playing from their computer through all the network connections and back to your computer. Saving it means you've pulled it off of their server. You've now saved it somewhere locally, either on a flash drive or on your computer, and you can show it without having to worry about the internet connection at all.
We don't have to worry about it breaking virus then.
No. No, it should be okay. Might not be able to show that to you. So if we don't get it tonight, we can show that next week. So
if you're at home and you wanted to take a video and put it on the flash drive and take it to school,
Yep. Yep, absolutely. Yep, then you can just plug the flash drive in your computer and you can show it that way. And that's the way you can embed them into a PowerPoint presentation, or once we get into our RM Easy Teach software, it's a way that you can put it right into your RM Easy Teach presentation and do those kinds of things. So there's definitely some advantages to saving videos versus streaming them, but it is a little bit more work to get them downloaded as well. So
One thing, I don't know if this is even the right thing to do, but I had a student the other day who was doing an informative speech on the history of Mario Brothers, and he found a little video clip on YouTube at home that had kind of an overview of the history, and he knew exactly what it looked like, and he had saved, or he had written down the website, but he had just done a Google search. And so I went to Google and found it, but you can't just copy and paste the URL, but if you have this, the HTTP:// in front of it, it will then bring it over into My Big Campus without having to do the filter. So if you know what it's called, there's another teacher that did that.
no, absolutely, you can do that. So yeah, if you happen to know that full address for a YouTube video, then you can just put it right into My Big Campus. You don't have to override the filter to get the address. So, so if you went home and you found it, then you could, copy and paste it into a Word document or an email to yourself or whatever you wanted to do, and then you don't ever have to mess with overriding the filter at school. And if you don't want to be added to the override group, you can tell me, don't add me to the override group, and we can leave you off. Don't want it? Okay. I'm still having Java problems, so I wonder if I should try it in Internet Explorer.
So you pasted it in, and now we're still.
So it's trying to find it. Oh, there it is. Okay. So just ignoring all the advertisements. So down here it gives me options. I can download it as an MP4, which would be the best for a video. If you just wanted the sound out of it, you can do it MP3. 3GP I think is mostly for phones. FLV is for flash players. I wouldn't mess with that. But an MP4 will save that on again down to your computer, and then you can show it straight from your computer.
Will it save it somewhere so you can find it again?
Yeah, so I mean that's up to me. I could put it on my flash drive. I happen to put it on my desktop here. You could put a flash drive in and save it on a flash drive wherever you want to save it. So now if I go to my desktop, I have right here the video, the invisible gorilla. That's interesting. And I can play it now off of my computer instead of off of the internet. Okay, so different options that you have to do it. So you can stream videos through My Big Campus. You could use this Keepvid website. But again, the one thing I don't like about it is you have all these things to click on, a lot of which are advertisements trying to get you to buy things that you don't need to buy. So you have to be a little bit smart about how you approach it, but it's a pretty good tool to download videos. And I think there's some other ones out there, but that's the one I use most often as well. Okay, so that covers how to stream videos safely, how to stream YouTube videos safely with My Big Campus. Everybody remember how you could add those videos to a collection? Did you want me to go through that again as well? Okay, so again, what you have is now I added this to the library, and I don't have to do this because I can just come back and I can search for it if I want to. But if I know this is something I want to be able to go back and find easily, then I can create collections to add it to. And so I could add it to my Habitats collection, to my social networking collection. I'll put it in my Teaching with Tech one. Okay. And so now that I've added it there, if I come here to my stuff, I've got a list of things here, I think that are probably in order of when I've uploaded them, but I also have collections here, and so I can go find my Teaching with Tech collection and see all of the items that I've added there. And a collection can be more than just YouTube videos. A collection can be files you've uploaded from your computers, it can be websites, it can be videos from YouTube. There's lots of different options on what you can put into a collection. So just kind of like creating a file of materials for your class.
Scott, while you're thinking.
Yep.
I did that. Then I have to exit out of My Big Campus. But I came back in, my collection's gone, so she's not having that.
In that collection. So again, the collection, it's a little bit tricky if you're creating a new one, because when you click on add, when you click add the first time that you're doing a new collection, it's actually adding that collection. Then you have to go back and click on it to add the video into it. So it's kind of a two-step process if it's a new collection, if that makes sense. Okay, so these are all of my items in my Teaching with class, and there's my Teaching with Tech class, and here's the one on the invisible gorilla. Okay, but notice I have a solar system ETNG, that's a RM Easy Teach file. I have a PowerPoint here, and another video. Okay.
So we get rid of them.
And if you want to get rid of them, you can check on it and you can delete it, and that'll take it out of it. Or if you're done with that entire collection, let's say Civil War videos, I just use that as an example of one, I can delete this entire collection.
I've had some of the time it's worked, some of the time it hasn't. I've tried to clean up my list. So I've found that when I'm teaching one class, I'm teaching communications, but then I have all these science videos, the students, oh, I want to watch that, I want to watch that. So I've tried to delete those, and sometimes it'll just delete it off that list, but not in my collection. But other times, like documents, if I delete it in there, it'll delete it from the collection and from the big list.
And from the list, huh?
So is there, I mean, is it supposed to just delete it off of that one page, or does it automatically delete out of the collections? I've had that. Sometimes it does it, sometimes it doesn't.
Cliff, did you catch that at all? Yeah, so that might just be something. Cliff and I are going to go to an intensive My Big Campus training this summer, So that'll be something that we can try to clarify just on what happens when he deletes, because he says sometimes it deletes it from the collection, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it takes it off the list, sometimes it does both, right? I mean,
I've noticed it mainly with my documents, like if I do a Word document, or particularly when I upload it, when I want to put it in as an assignment, it will actually create like 4. But
oh, I have had
sometimes it will
that.
create like 4 of them, so you go and delete it, and then it deletes it all.
Oh.
And it deletes it from the assignment as well.
Yeah, I have had that multiple versions thing, and I'm not sure where that comes from. So we'll try to get some answers on that, but it'll be June before we have them. So, okay, so really that is pretty much everything I wanted to cover in my big campus. How comfortable do you feel with using it in your classes? Does it feel like it's a tool you could use, at least to stream YouTube videos, share documents with students? Okay.
Except how to get YouTube videos. Mine's all the
Where do you get blocked?
Before Google doing Zoom when I
Okay, so again, the first thing I would do, the very first place I would start is I would start inside of my big campus and go ahead and search for whatever YouTube video you want to search for, whatever topic you're searching for here, and save yourself the work of trying to find a YouTube video and add it to it. So I would just go ahead and start with whatever topic I'm teaching. Let me do Schoolhouse Rock just for the heck of it. Okay, and so here are some Schoolhouse Rock videos that are already added, so I don't have to do any other work. I can just click on those and play those for my class. And so to me as a teacher, it would be much less frustrating if I start with my big campus and see what's there and don't put myself to any extra work, any more work than I have to. But if you have a specific YouTube video that you want to add to my big campus and it's not there, then that's when you'll be able to override the filter, find it, and add it to my big campus. Okay. No, you'd want to put in a specific thing that you're searching for, a specific topic. I mean, it can be as general as, you know, like dinosaurs, or, you know, but you want to give it something to search for.
Okay. Are you going to go over like creating assignments and grading and all that at a later date?
Let's go ahead and do that now. That's a great one. Okay, that'll be a good way for us to wrap up. So here under schoolwork, this is probably the last thing we really haven't talked about with it. Okay. Okay, so under My Big Campus, over here in this top left section of links, there's a schoolwork option. And I'm glad Dale's here because Dale actually does with the students. So Dale's doing this on a daily basis where I've done it once or twice each year, so he can help me with anything I'm not sure. Okay, but the first thing is up here you have the opportunity to create a new assignment, create a new quiz, or to export your grades. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new assignment for our class. Okay, and let's do, you know what, let's start with a quiz. We can go ahead and do a quiz here just for the fun, but you get the full effect of a quiz. So I'm going to go to create a new quiz. And I'll go ahead and give it a type. And so you have assessment, graded, practice, or a survey as your types. Do you know the difference between assessment and graded? Because I don't. Do you know, Dale, at all? I don't have any idea. Okay. Okay. We'll go ahead and try grade and see what happens here. And we'll do internet safety. Okay. I can put in more of a description if I want to there. Okay. And now here is where this kind of comes down to teaching multiple classes. I can assign that to one specific group or multiple groups or even certain students within a group. Okay. I'm going to go and do entire group or groups. These are all the groups that I own. Okay, so not all the groups in the district, or not even the ones I'm members of, but just the ones that I own. And we're going to go and do it here with our class. And if I chose specific members, I could pick the group, and then I would pick people one at a time. Okay, I'm just going to do the whole group. Okay, I can shuffle the questions so that students wouldn't have the opportunity to look off of each other's and be on the same place at the same time on the computer. I can even shuffle the answers if I wanted to shuffle the answers. I could do both of those things. Okay, and we'll go ahead and do show results.
How would you want to shuffle answers?
So the A, B, C's, and D's are in different order, so students are not looking over and saying, oh, that's C, and putting C on his or hers. Yes?
I don't have that toolbar under schoolwork where you can, I just have assigned you and your submission.
Do you own any groups?
Own any groups now?
Have you created a group? Yeah, so I think you need to have a group before you can do schoolwork with it. I'm pretty sure that's going to be the right answer. Okay, and then I can put the day that I publish it. So once you publish it, and this is one thing, is once you publish a quiz, it's there. You can't go back and change it. And I think there's probably some reasons for that, because if you have students start to take it and then you change it, it's going to mess up answers and things like that. So we're going to publish it today, and we will say it's got to be submitted by today. We can even put in the time. We'll give you guys a little bit of time to complete that. Okay, and here I can put in questions. Okay, and so I can put in a question like okay, then I've got multiple choice or true false. I can assign a certain number of points to that one. Okay, and then I can give it correct. I can put in some answers and some distractors. So
I'm sorry, I didn't see it.
yeah, you're fine.
Mine looks like a student account.
Cliff might have to check you out, because we do have some teachers that are into students, so that could easily be the answer. Purposelessly, is that a word? I think that's a word. Okay, and to okay, and then I just identified the correct answer. Okay, and I can add another question. Probably try to phrase that one a little bit better, but it'll work. Okay, multiple choice. We'll go 5 points again. What was my other right answer? I'll just go with 3 on that one. Sexual predators, cyberbullying, and pornography. Okay, so I can save and continue. We'll just do 2. Oh, got to have my correct answer here. Okay. And I think we're good. Oh, what am I missing? Choice. Choice. Probably should be good. What's that? Thought so. Multiple choice, correct answer. Did I miss instructions somewhere? Okay. Okay, there we go. So now that's all I have to do on my side as a teacher. And so you should be able to go in now and take that very difficult quiz. So if you click on schoolwork, and if you go to assign to you, you should be able to see that quiz there. So schoolwork and assign to you. Okay. If you're doing this with your class, it might be a good time to turn off your projectors as well. We'll go and leave ours on and see how people do.
Did you have your, because I'm showing you the screen.
You saw my name.
Yep, it shows your name, and you did just fine.
Did I get 100?
Yes, you did.
Oh, good.
No, did you request to join the group? Susan, did you request to join it? Let me see if I can add you quick. I'm not sure if it'll let you take the quiz now. I don't remember that setting on there. So why don't you see if you can just click on schoolwork again.
Being somewhere else.
What's that?
Some of us are not getting
Ours aren't popping up. Yeah.
When you click on assign by to you, it doesn't pop up. That's interesting because it. Oh, does it pop up under notifications that you have a quiz to take?
That's all I got.
Yeah, I can't do anything with it because I published it, so. So you guys can't see it at all, huh? Oh, if you go to notifications. It's interesting. Yeah. Yep. Okay, so I hope you can see that that's a pretty useful tool as well, that you can do some pretty quick assessments because you're putting the correct answer. It's being graded for you. And from there, they do have the opportunity that you can export quizzes out and import them into PowerGrade as well. Have you done that? So, what's that? Yeah. Cliff, did you play with that at all on the import side? Do you remember? So that might be a fun thing for a couple people, riskier people, to try and see how does that go with importing them into PowerGrade. Okay. 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 So that's how you can do a quiz in My Big Campus. in addition to quizzes, you can assign full-on homework assignments and have students submit them to you. And we'll do that as our final grade here. So I'll just show you one from last time. But this one was creating an activity. And basically you can just go in and let me give the student view of that. But I just went in, gave a description of it, gave a due date for it. Let's just do a new one. So I can do create a new assignment. Okay, so I can give it a name. I can pick a due date and time as well as a different start date. So it'll default to today's start date, but you have a box that you can check to change the start date if you want to. Just like the quiz, you can assign it to a group or groups or specific individuals. You can put in your description for it, the number of points, okay? And then you can even attach files to that assignment. So if students need to read something to complete that assignment, you could attach one of the YouTube videos to it and have the students do something with the YouTube video. You can put really anything you want to go along with that assignment. And then you can also choose whether to allow students to submit it late, whether you want students to be able to resubmit it if they didn't get things correct the first time. And you can even create discussion groups with it. So if you check on that box, then when you create the assignment, it also, under discussions, will create a place for students to collaborate with each other on the discussion. They can ask each other questions, ask you questions, and have a dialogue about the assignment as well. So we'll do that, like I said, for kind of our final one. But it's a pretty useful tool. And then students can upload the file right there to My Big Campus, and you can go in and you can click on them and you can view the files online without ever having to have students print anything off, or you have to print anything off. You can do it completely through My Big Campus. So have you done that, Dale? Have you had kids submit anything as an assignment?
I have not. I'm kind of hesitant to do so, but I don't know how many students at home actually have.
Right.
I hate to make it mandatory that it's online.
Right.
I haven't jumped that down.
Yeah.
I have, and I had to create a PowerPoint, but I sent them a PowerPoint template that I wanted them to use, and then just fill in the blanks, and then have them resubmit it. My concern with, like, I actually clicked that assignments to be resubmitted, but if they mess up and they resubmit it and they want to start over, it sends you all these resubmits, and you can't really delete them as a teacher. So I had some students that pushed the resubmit button like 10 times. And so I have these 10 assignments from this one student, and when you click on it, there's nothing there. So that's the only downfall for that.
Little bug there. So
with the resubmit.
Good. Okay. Last thing we'll talk about with this, and then we'll call it a night, is if anybody has an iPad or an iPhone, and I don't know about Android, but they've got a great app for this, for iPhones and for iPads. And the app sometimes for me is more easy to use and easy to navigate than the website is. And so if you do have some technology like that, you might search for the My Big Campus app. You just log in with your same information. It kind of keeps you logged in, which is nice. You don't have to keep logging into it. But it's a really kind of fun, easy to use, easy to navigate option with it. So if you do have any of that technology, add the My Big Campus app, and I think it'll be pretty useful. So, okay. So next week we'll dig our heels in and hit the BrightLink software pretty intensely. I know Adrian doesn't have a BrightLink, right? And Dale, you don't have a BrightLink, and you're having one installed. Okay, you're getting one though, so that'll be okay because you'll have it. The good thing is, if I think it'll still be useful that you can, because you have a projector, just not interactive. So I mean, you can still see the software and see what it will do, but it's really designed to work with interactive projectors. Hopefully, you guys might be getting one sometime. So I think that'll still be useful. And does anybody else not have a BrightLink in your classrooms? Okay, yeah. So that's okay. Hopefully, it'll be still something fun for you to learn. So we'll dig in with that. There is a trial version of the software that you can download and put on your home computer if you want to. So if you just Googled RM Easy Teach, there's a trial version. A couple of things I'd caution you with, though. It's a huge file. It's like 350 megabytes. So if you're on a fast internet connection, it's going to take you 20 minutes to half an hour to download it, I would guess. If you're on a slow connection, you can plan on 3 or 4 hours to download that big a file. So if anybody wants the trial, we might be able to burn a couple of CDs here for you and have you install that at home. And if you want the software on your computer at school, we've got licenses that we can throw it on your computer even if you don't have it rightly. So just let your tech mentor know that you want that installed and we'll get it installed for you. Okay? All right, any other questions for me, Anna?
So, do we have to wait for Joe to add us?
To the override group?
And then we have to take the quiz to do it, or
No, you're good. You went through the presentation with us here, so no, we're all good to go from here. So I'll just get Joe the list of names and say these are the people who went through it, and he'll add you. And so hopefully we'll keep adding people till we get everybody added to that. But yeah, it'll be probably a day or two.
And then that's just a regular login?
Yep, regular username and password. And won't put you on there, Susan.
If there are other teachers in our buildings who would like that,
What I
have to come take the class.
No, what I did, and I really haven't rolled it out, but back here on my big campus, I have there's 2 teaching groups, so I have to think of which one it is. I think it's just D93 teachers. Yep, I have right here on the home page, I have a link to that Prezi. I have a link to the internet safety. So what they have to do is they need to join the D93 teachers group. Then they can view that presentation. They can take the quiz, and then I can add them to it. And incidentally, on that page, there's some great videos again from the Attorney General's office, as well as this page that talks about Protect Teens. It has some great resources. So if you're a parent with teenage kids, I would strongly recommend you take a look at that page. It gives you some good tools to talk to kids about internet safety and some good conversations to have with them. So it's a really good resource. And there's even a DVD that you could order that has a pretty good video on it about keeping our kids safe. So anybody been through the Boy Scout training with internet safety and Creepy Uncle Joe? It's not quite as uncomfortable as those videos are. So, okay. Well, thanks everybody, and we'll plan on seeing you next Thursday, unless there's any other questions.